In 1973, one company invented the future of personal computing. They had it all: a graphical interface, a mouse, a network, a full decade before anyone else. And yet that company's name today is synonymous with making copies. This is the story of how Xerox fumbled the future. We're here to conduct the autopsy.
So here it is, the central paradox. On one side, you have the very DNA of the modern digital world, all born inside Xerox. And on the other, what the world actually remembers them for. This gap, right here, represents one of the biggest strategic blunders in business history. The question for us isn't just what happened, it's why. Our job is to diagnose the root cause.
First, let's establish the facts of the case. We need to be crystal clear about what was on the table, because this wasn't some minor improvement. What Xerox had was a complete, working vision of the future.
Just look at this timeline. It really puts the scale of the lead into perspective. The Alta was up and running in 1973. It took 6 years for Steve Jobs to even see it, and a full decade before Apple could successfully bring those ideas to market. In the tech world, a 10-year head start? Well, that's an eternity.
And we're not talking about one single invention here. This was the whole package: the GUI, the mouse, networking, what you see is what you get word processing. They were all there, working together in one seamless system. This is the body on our table, a world-changing opportunity, fully realized.
All right, now the investigation begins. The first thing we uncover is a kind of corporate immune disease, a condition where the company's own massive success created antibodies that attacked its most brilliant new idea.
You see, to get Xerox, you first have to get the incredible success of their 914 copier. In 1959, before it launched, the company's sales were about $32 million. A few years later, they skyrocketed. This thing wasn't just a product, it was a money-printing machine built on a high-margin leasing model. And that success created a deep, powerful copier mentality throughout the entire company.
This quote from a Xerox manager says it all, doesn't it? It's our key diagnostic. The whole company, sales, finance, everything was built to do one thing: lease copiers and sell toner. It was all about predictable, recurring revenue.
But here's the fascinating part. This wasn't because the CEO lacked vision. He absolutely saw what was coming, talking about building an architecture of information. The problem was that the rest of the company, especially the powerful finance executives brought in from places like Ford, were wired for a totally different reality. They were experts in managing the known, not building the new.
And that's the bottom line. When the finance guys looked at the Alto computer, they didn't see a revolution. They saw a high-risk, low-margin project that was a distraction from their cash cow. The corporate immune system didn't see an opportunity, it saw a threat to the existing business model.
Okay, our second finding. This one is structural. The place where all this innovation was happening, the famous Palo Alto Research Center, or PARC, was basically quarantined from the rest of the company. You've got PARC over in California, and you've got Xerox headquarters 3,000 miles away in Rochester, New York. And believe me, that distance was a lot more than just geographical. It was a massive cultural divide. PARC was an island of geniuses, for sure, but it was an island with no bridge to the mainland.
I mean, they were operating in two different worlds. PARC was all about freewheeling, bottom-up discovery. Let's build cool tools and see what happens. Meanwhile, Rochester was run on this rigid top-down system of control. There was no shared language, no shared process, and critically, no one in a position of power to act as a translator between the two.
And that brings us to the final, fatal pathology: a complete failure of strategic vision at the worst possible moment. This is the point where they literally invited a competitor in, showed them the future, and then let them walk away with the blueprint.
So, picture this. It's 1979. This young entrepreneur, Steve Jobs, comes calling. The execs at Xerox headquarters, they're not really thinking about the value of the projects in their own lab. What they do see is a chance to get some cheap pre-IPO stock in a hot little startup called Apple. So they made a trade, a tour of PARC for some stock options.
This quote from one of the PARC scientists who was there is so telling. Jobs didn't need to steal any code. He just needed to see it working. He saw a demonstrated reality, and he immediately understood the immense commercial potential in a way that Xerox management, blinded by their own success, simply could not.
The result was a direct transfer of vision, and it was absolutely catastrophic for Xerox. The very same innovations that Xerox saw as a research curiosity became the heart and soul of Apple's strategy,
and the engine that drove the entire personal computing revolution. Xerox owned the technology, but Apple owned the vision.
So, let's issue the final report. What was the official cause of death for Xerox's single greatest opportunity? Well, it wasn't one single thing. It wasn't one bad decision.
Our official diagnosis is a corporate immune response. The failure was baked into the system. Xerox's own success had created a culture so perfectly optimized for the copier business that when a revolutionary technology appeared within its own walls, the system identified it as a foreign body, a pathogen, and it moved to neutralize the threat.
So, for any of us in leadership or strategy today, what are the lessons here? First, just inventing something isn't enough. You need an entire ecosystem to bring it to market. Second, your current success can be your biggest blind spot. A profitable business model can make you ignore the next big thing. And finally, even the best idea in the world will die on the vine without a true champion to fight for it inside the organization.
And that leaves us with the final, enduring question. See, this autopsy of Xerox, it isn't just a history lesson. It's a warning. Because those same forces, cultural immunity, organizational distance, strategic blindness, they exist in every successful company today. The real question is, will they be recognized before another future gets fumbled away?